the the easiest way to get the content of an element is by using the inner HTML property, and the inner HTML property is useful for getting or replacing the content of HTML elements, and the inner HTML property can be used to get or change any HTML element and including HTML and body. So we have seen the example and get element by ID thing, and inner HTML also. So this get element by ID method and inner HTML property, that both are very useful for getting and replacing the contents of HTML elements with the ID plus with the contents. Okay, and then next we can use the methods like element by ID and by tag name, that can also be used, like document dot get element by ID slash t, that will be used for finding an element by element ID, and document by get element by ID tag name, that is known, and they can find the elements by tag name, and the document dot get elements by class name and name, they find elements by class name. So all these things can be used effectively in your program, that can give you the exact results in easier way. There are again many elements that that are related with inner HTML syntax. Okay, that can also be used for getting some things that in easier way, that we will also see, like element dot inner HTML equals to new HTML content, that change the inner HTML of an element, and element dot attribute equals to new value, that change the attribute value of an HTML element. Then elements dot set attribute, in that attribute and value they change the attribute value of an HTML element, and element dot style property equals to new style, they change the style of an HTML element. So all these things can be used effectively for getting your contents in effective way, plus presenting your HTML page in effective way as well. Okay, so for adding and deleting elements, you can use the document dot create element remove element for removing the HTML element. Document dot append child element can be used for adding HTML element, and replace child can be used to replace an HTML element. Plus the document dot write and in bracket text, that is whatever text you want to display, that element can be used to write it to HTML output stream. We can use that document dot write as our output statement, that we generally write in with the cout statement. Okay? Then adding event handlers. So in this event handlers, we have seen the method like document dot get element by ID dot on click. So there are few events like as I told before, the on click event or any on picture event. So some events are there that events can be handled effectively by the event handler of this HTML and DOM. Okay, so these event handlers work effectively, and this method, that is document dot get element by ID dot, that is ID name in bracket, and on click equals to function and whatever code you want to write, that things can help you out to adding event handler code to an on click event. So these are many methods for each and every event handler. Okay, and DOM is very good at handling the events. Okay, then for finding HTML objects, you can use many properties, like which label you can use in DOM, that can also be seen, like for finding that a property document.base URI, it uses the DOM level 3. Then document.body, it uses the level 1. Document.cookie, okay. It returns again the 1. Okay, so there are so many types that I described to you in the class as well, and here it is given in tabular form. And then changing the HTML content, as I told you just now, the for changing the element, for changing the element in HTML, you can use many syntax or many attributes like with HTML. Like for changing style, you can use element.style property, then element.attribute for changing attribute. Okay, so these things example we have seen, and in example we have included that document.get element by id, and id we have provided is p1, and inner HTML new text. So the output of that program we got is JavaScript can change HTML, and that we have already provided in body syntax, and with the h2 heading, so it is in bold. And then we have added that new text, that is here we can see the new text, and the paragraph above was changed by a script. So this is for our output. Okay, so this paragraph above was changed by a script, that output we have got by changing the HTML content. Then changing value of an attribute. So if you want to change the value attribute, then what we will do, here in program we can see the document.get element by id and image.src we have given, and it is the landscape.jpg image. So the original image was smiley.gif, but the script changed it to landscape.jpg. This message we have shown. Why? Because in body section, before changing the thing, or before changing this get element by id image source, we have added another script, another image, that was smiley.gif. Okay, but after we have used get element by id image, and source we have changed to landscape.jpg. Okay, so that output only we will get. So this was about changing the HTML. Then the last part of unit we have studied was jQuery. So jQuery is a JavaScript library, and it is effectively used for simplifying the JavaScript programming. So jQuery basically is a multi-browser JavaScript library that simplifies the HTML document traversing, event handling, animation, and Ajax interactions. It is a free open source software that is licensed under the MIT license, and JavaScript is a programming language, and jQuery is a development framework for JavaScript. So thing you must notice and you must remember is JavaScript is a programming language, whereas jQuery is development framework for JavaScript, and JavaScript is fairly low level programming language. So all this introductory part we have seen, and the jQuery library contains some features like HTML and DOM manipulation is there, CSS manipulation, HTML event methods, then effects and animations we have seen, and Ajax and utilities. So all these features make up a jQuery very good modern web application framework. And then Like jQuery is having few advantages, like it removes the headache of cross-platform JavaScript compatibilities. It is easy to use as compared to other JS libraries and JS as well. Then it has large set of libraries and functions. It has good documentation and Ajax functionality. Okay, so all these things make it a effective framework. And for adding the jQuery into the web page, we need to do several ways, follow some things. So there are several ways to start up using jQuery on the website. You can download the jQuery from library jQuery.com and input jQuery from CDN like Google as well. So the steps I have shown you in the class as well, and here I have listed out those steps for downloading jQuery. Okay, so there are two versions of jQuery for production version and development version. So whatever is suitable for us, we can download it from jQuery.com. And there are few things that are listed here for practicing and including it into the our web browser, so that steps must be followed correctly that I have shown you. And if you don't want to download and host the jQuery yourself, you can include it from CDN, and that CDN I have already told, that is Content Delivery Network. And both the Google and Microsoft host the jQuery. From them you save much time for downloading and using it. You can directly include it into the script, but you have to write it like a script source, and at that time you need to provide that link, and that link I have given here, that is https ajax.googlegraphics.com ajax libs jQuery 3.2.1 any version whatever you want to, and jQuery.main.js. so this thing you need to include in your program. Then what the jQuery is and how is its syntax. So jQuery with jQuery you can select a query, that is HTML element, and perform actions on them, and syntax is $selector.action. okay, and action is function. So the $sign is to define or access jQuery, and selector to query or find HTML elements. A jQuery action to be performed on the elements, that is, for example, we can see $this.hide, so it will hide the current element, and $p.hide, it will hide all paragraph elements. So like that, there are so many elements and so many things, so many selectors that can be used with this jQuery. Then we have also seen how to select the elements from jQuery. It allows to select and manipulate the HTML elements, and these selectors are used to find the HTML elements that are based on their name, ID, classes, types, attributes, values, then values of attributes, and much more. So it is based on existing CSS selectors, and in addition it has some own custom selectors. So all the selectors in jQuery start with $sign and parenthesis. Okay, that thing must be noted. And an element selector that we have already seen. For example, you want to select the paragraph element, so we will use that dollar, and in double quotes in bracket we will provide that element. So paragraph you can use, that will hide all the paragraphs from script. Then when a user clicks on button, all P elements will be hidden. Okay, so what we will do for that, we will use $document.ready function, and in function we have used $button click function, and in function we have written that $p.hide. okay, the written here is actually double quote, and this script, what it will do, when user click on a button, all the paragraph elements will be hidden. Then the ID selector elements example we have seen, it also do the same task when ID test will be hidden after clicking on button. So for that we have seen the code. Then jQuery CSS method for changing style. So the CSS method sets or returns one or more style properties of the selected elements. That also we have seen, and that CSS method returns a CSS property. For that we need to write that CSS and property name. And if you want to set a CSS property, just we need to do that a CSS property name, and what value we want to change, that should be given with the value next to it after comma. Okay, so example we can see, like here we have used that dollar button and click function, and alert to us the background color is $p.css background color, and then we have used like the head section, and in body section we have given p style background color. This is the paragraph, the color code we have provided here, and on button written background color of p that we have used. So this will be the output. Like firstly we will see this is the paragraph in red, and after we will see background color is RGB 25500. That is the color code that we have accessed. Then changing style. So what is here in the script that we can see here, we have firstly given the red color code, and after that, after clicking on button, as we have added that event, it will change that particular value of background to the yellow. Okay, in first function we have added it in red. Okay, and now we want to change it to yellow, so it will be changed to yellow. Okay, so this is the change color or change property. Then jQuery, how to add element, the appending, prepend, after and before. So all these elements are used, like these are the 4 jQuery methods that are used to add new content. So append inserts content at the end of selected elements. Prepend inserts content at the beginning of selected elements. After inserts content after the selected elements, and before inserts content before the selected element. And we have also seen that example for appending method. Okay, so in output you can see the list item 1 and 2, and after clicking on append list item we have added the list item 3 as well. Then for removing we need to use the method remove empty. So remove will remove the selected element only, and it will be the child element, while this empty method removes the child elements from the selected element. And the example we have seen with this, like hello and remove. So it will, after clicking on remove, that how are you, that was removed, like how are you was the function. So this was the revision for second unit, and these are some references that you can use on your own as well. Okay, if you want some deep knowledge, or you can get notes from this also. Okay, you can refer it as per your need. So till that, just revise all this section, and we'll meet in the third unit session. Okay, till that, thank you, take care.